very, very upset that someone's life was taken because they have a different opinion. It's just unbelievable. You have to be very careful that we don't get any closer to that cliff. Because when you fall down that cliff, down there is no democracy.
Ah, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's from Austria. He's not the German, he's from the Austria. He was the governor of California. He thinks there's cliff. And he's right, of course. He's completely right. Have to be careful, it's about, you got a different opinion and you start shooting people because you have and then the Democrats applaud and they're online cheering it and they have rallies outside of courthouses to cheer CEO killers and Charlie Kirk killers. The Democrat Party is a vile, violent death cult. As Andy Ngo was saying, and I've been saying the same thing for quite a long time, and they are red. Make no mistake, they are red. They are the commies. They're the left in the United States. Don't call them red state, blue state. They are the reds. We are true blue. They are commie red. The Reds. Better dead than red. Did you see this? ABC News has a late-night show, apparently, that nobody watches called Jimmy Kimmel. It's called Jimmy Kimmel. What didn't he have, like, the Man Show and girls jumping on trampolines? Shouldn't the Pound Me Too movement have taken care of him long ago? But they're Democrats. Everything is a lie. It's all based on the big lie. Make the lie so big that no one would dare to not believe it, as their boy Joseph Goebbels used to say. From the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. One of the killingest regimes in the history of the world, along with the Soviet Union just next door. And, of course, the Chinese communists. Let's not forget Pol Pot and Kim Il-sung and all the other killer communists who murdered millions and millions. And now the Democrats are bringing it back. Now, let's go to the idiot Jimmy Kimmel. He was funny for a minute about 30 years ago. He stopped being funny a long, long time ago. But listen to this bourgeois that these people are peddling. ABC Network, again, like Casper Gutman over here. Here's Jimmy Kimmel. He said the killer, now keep in mind that the killer, the assassin, he has a father who is a Republican. And so the Democrats are saying, well, his father is a Republican, therefore he's a Republican. Therefore, Republicans assassinated a Republican, and the Republicans assassinated Charlie Kirk because it's, the sins of the son being visited upon the father, the twisted, tortured, demented Democrat Party. I hesitate to call it thinking, but it might be described that way by a corrupt media. Here is Jimmy Kimmel blaming Trump, MAGA, and the Republican father, keeping in mind that it's the Republican father that spotted the pictures online that were released at the insistence of Kash Patel, the FBI director. Many around him did not want the photos released, and at least not so early. And Kash Patel insisted, let's release the photos. The father saw the photos. The mother saw the photos. And they said, we believe that's our son, and we have to turn him over to the police. We have to get him. They didn't want him shot to death by a SWAT team when they closed in on him. So they got a hold of him and said, that was you. And he said, yeah, that was me. And then they called in their pastor who had law enforcement relationships and I think a federal marshal, and he was brought in to the police. So it is the MAGA father that facilitated and secured the arrest of the assassin, and had to be absolutely heartbreaking to turn in their own son as a political assassin. And now here comes ABC's Jimmy Kimmel. Should have stuck to girls on trampolines, not smart enough for broad daylight.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
To try to characterize the MAGA gang, who doesn't shoot anybody, you filthy street prostitute. And and try to characterize the killer as anything other than one of them. So that's what they're doing. It's it's one of the MAGA. And why is that? Because the father that turned in his own son to the police, he is the real problem and the guilty party. These people are very seriously mentally ill. And again, this is the Democrat Party's billion-dollar-a-year propaganda apparatus, which the networks at ABC, CBS, NBC, they're all part of the Democrat Party's information dominance propaganda network. And I got to tell you, Jimmy Kimmel, let's go back to it again. He should be fired, and I don't really think he should be fired, but he should be fired if the network had any integrity. I know that they don't. And this is supposed to be an entertainment show, a comedy show. It is neither. And that MAGA gang wants to depict him as anything other than one of them. Well, he's one of you. And I don't know if you're transgender yet, Jimmy Kimmel, but you might be at home tonight with the Cuisinart and making one of those frappies. But the MAGA gang wants to depict the killer as anything other than one of them. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever to associate the killer with MAGA or Trump or Republicans or conservatism or peace-loving, church-going family people who none of whom had anything to do with this psycho gay boy with his thinks he's transgender boyfriend. And he obviously hates his father and his parents. But this is what you get from ABC and Jimmy Kimmel.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
He should have to go on tonight and spend, how is it long, in an hour? Spend the entire hour groveling and sniveling and apologizing and pointing out the facts and the truth. The propaganda apparatus of the Democrat Party is boundless. Isn't that amazing? Man. And then you know what he did? He attacked President Trump and mocked President Trump. Said, oh, yeah, President Trump was asked a question about something to which he'd already addressed 5 or 8 times, and that's the assassination of Charlie Kirk by a Democrat of the Democratic Party who is a Democrat. And I got to tell you, the propaganda of the media. Also, let's go to spin the Democrats. They lie about everything. The Democrat governor of Pennsylvania is a Jewish governor. His name is Josh Shapiro. And the governor's mansion during the Jewish holiday Passover just finished the Seder dinner with his family. They were all going up to bed when a Democrat who was very angry with Josh Shapiro for being too pro-Israel, the Democrat firebombed the governor's mansion, the Jewish governor's mansion, with 2 Molotov cocktails and tried to kill the governor and his family during the Jewish holiday of Passover after the Seder dinner with Molotov cocktails, firebombing the Jews, just like the Democrats firebombed the Jews in Colorado who were holding a pro-Israel rally, and Democrats showed up and firebombed the Jewish people. And then they call you a Nazi and call you the Gestapo and you a fascist while they're firebombing the Jews everywhere they find them, coming out in support of Hamas, which is a genocidal, anti-Semitic death cult and terrorist organization that's still holding hostages, some dead hostages, and reports they're about to use them as human shields, even the dead bodies, because they're savages. But here is Governor Josh Shapiro. He's a Democrat, and just amazing because people are talking about the killer being a Democrat and targeting Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk is a conservative and a Christian, and they would nail all Christians to a piece of wood if they could, or several different pieces of wood. And here is the idiot Democrat governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, getting all of the most important elements wrong.
Unfortunately, some, from the dark corners of the internet all the way to the Oval Office, want to cherry pick which instances of political violence they want to condemn.
Lie.
Listen, doing that only further divides us.
What he's doing now.
And it makes it harder to heal. There are some
Stop shooting people.
who will hear that selective condemnation.
Stop firebombing the Jews.
Take it as a permission slip to commit more violence.
Actually, the assassin, the Democrat Party assassin in this case, much like the Democrat Party Jew haters that firebombed the governor's mansion with Molotov cocktails in Pennsylvania while you, the Jewish governor, were inside. And he went on to talk about the firebombing of the governor's mansion, but he left out the fact that it was done by one of his fellow travelers of the Democrat Party who have been trained to be anti-Semites by the Democrat Party, which, you know, mimicking the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler in Germany. And from the Oval Office, so he's attacking Trump because when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, we noticed it was another act of Democrat Party violence. Donald Trump was shot through the ear by a would-be assassin. There is another would-be assassin on trial who tried to kill Donald Trump in Florida at his own golf course, on trial right now in Florida. The news media is not covering the story because they're corrupt and they don't cover the news as it should be covered. I'm sorry, the Oval Office, from the internet to the Oval Office, you cherry pick which violence to condemn, as he is cherry picking which violence to condemn and then misrepresenting the source of the evil that led to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which was the Democrat Party, painting everyone as fascists, as Nazis, as Gestapo, as the SS, as Hitler, and that's why you guys shot President Trump. That's why you guys shot Charlie Kirk. That's why you guys, with the inspiration of Rachel Maddow and MSNBC, shot Congressman Steve Scalise and tried to mow down an entire baseball team of Republican members of Congress. That's why you guys have committed all these violent acts. You guys normalized rioting, and then January 6th comes along. Oh, this is the most outrageous. It's the end of democracy. You're filth. All right, you're the bigger liars than Joseph Goebbels. Aren't you amazing? CNN has a guy named Scott Jennings, and he's the only conservative, and he's the only person that makes sense. Scott Jennings on CNN was asked to respond to Governor Shapiro and some of the things that he falsely misrepresented and omitted. It's a lie of omission when it comes to the governor's mansion being firebombed.
I think his point would be strengthened if he were honest today about who burned his house down. You know, it was a Free Palestine leftist who came and burned down the governor's mansion. He left that out. He left that out of his tweet today, and he's talking about cherry-picking political violence, and we're talking about where there might be political violence. The violence against the governor of Pennsylvania and his family came from the left.
That is a fact, Jack. And this poor guy, I don't know how he does it every day at that place, Scott Jennings, he's a no-nonsense individual. He's intelligent. He's well-spoken. He must be a conservative.
I think there's a rush by Democrats who want to be president in 2028 to try to turn. Somehow, Donald Trump's friend gets shot, and now everybody wants to blame Donald Trump for it. I guess that's what you have to do to get elected president as a Democrat.
We are not doing that sitting here, okay? And Kate, please go ahead.
Is that not what's happening? People are pointing.
The governor's point is that it doesn't matter where the violence came from.
I think it might. Shouldn't it matter the motivations of the people?
It most certainly matters where the violence comes from. It matters enormously where the violence comes from. And the pattern from Abraham Lincoln being assassinated by a Democrat forward. Scott Jennings.
Don't you care about the motivation?
To sit here and suggest that somehow him not mentioning it was some sort of sleight of hand.
Of course it is.
Try to make it seem like it was.
I don't think his political party would accept it.
You missed the entire point of what he was saying, and it's a message that's badly, badly needed in this country at this moment.
Look, I think that if we cannot be honest, if I were him and somebody tried to burn my house down, I think I'd be honest about who did it and why they did it. And it would matter for people to know that, would it not?
While I was in it with my family, and they're trying to murder my whole family, and it's perfectly typical of the Democrat Party today, which is violent and bloodthirsty. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier has finally arrived, and it builds on the incredible success of the previous generations, the two generations which earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet, became a bestseller in no time. The new Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have demonstrated help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air that you breathe. Also removes dust and pet dander and smoke and a whole lot more from the air. And it gets rid of any stinky odor. You don't have to buy filters over and over again either. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. Talking about trash cans, cigarette smoke, kitty litter boxes, liberals, musty basements. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. Put them in your basement, your kid's bedroom, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code Chris3 to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris3. Yes, sir. All right, more Democrat media and then the truth coming up. Using the FBI to target the political enemies of the Democrat Party. Ridiculous Democrats. There's no place for violence against evil Nazi, fascist, Gestapo, SS that are destroying the country and the world and democracy itself. None of that. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Marco calling from Springfield, Virginia. Marco, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Marco.
Hey, I have a few things to say. Jimmy Kimmel should be renamed to Jimmy Weasel. A lot of people forgot that he did blackface, but, it was okay for him. Secondly, there's Montel Williams, who's an absolute joke. I always thought he was. He told Michelle Bachmann she should commit suicide because she was against Obamacare. If I ever get to meet Kash Patel, I want to shake his hand and thank him so much for exposing Adam Schiff for the clown show that he is and calling out Booker for being, Spartacus, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And I got to say, Crazy Harino makes me laugh. It's like you can't do one push-up, girl, and you think you're going to be in the FBI and take down some hardened criminal? It's like, what planet are these people on?
Honestly, what planet are these people living on is the question. And I'm glad you mentioned all that, Marco, because I have Mazie Hirono coming up. Trying to beat down Kash Patel because a woman who wants to be in the FBI might have to do a pull-up.
Yeah. When I was in the Army, we used to have to take PT tests. And, they had 2 different scores, one for men and one for women. And in the 2-mile run, I could walk the time that a woman would get like an A or an A minus on the run time. They've changed all that because of the pressure that was put on there. But if you're going to compete for the same promotions and the same slots, you need to be equal, so to speak.
Well, that's right.
Like an exception.
Yeah, well, that's right. But the Democrats, they're sliding scale for everything. A transgender army. Yeah, we've still got more on the because the district attorney prosecutor in Utah came out yesterday. He was very strong and read the text messages of the assassin who the Democrats are having fun with. This is good fun. We got to kill again. But there was also a big hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday, and I was looking up Marco too. Marco is a bright guy. I know Marco. Sea cruises and career Army. Great stuff. Tell you about Montel Williams called on Michelle Bachmann to kill herself over Obamacare. And the Democrats, they're the left. The left loves murder and death. It's who they are. And amazing stuff. And I went and found an Augusta Chronicle story from 2011, all the way back there, in response to the Democrat doctor of disinformation, Lowell Greenbaum, and his latest fantasy shooting spurs an avalanche of whys. And that's they love shootings. Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck never have advocated killing any public figures. However, Chris Matthews, Ed Schultz from MSNBC have misused they've mused over the possibility of the deaths of Rush Limbaugh, Dick Cheney, and then Montel Williams suggested that Republican Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann should kill herself, should use a knife and open veins and kill herself because she wasn't for the Democrat Party's takeover of health care. which has been a disaster, but never mind that. So I just want to get back to Marco on that because he's right. Yeah, Jimmy Weasel, his blackface. Your blackface should call for women to be murdered. Now they want J.K. Rowling to be murdered. They're calling for more murders, and they're doing it very publicly. They're normalizing calls for murder. That's the Democrat Party today. Now, yesterday, the director of the FBI, who is largely responsible personally for the capture of the Charlie Kirk assassin, along with the father of the Charlie Kirk assassin, but he was testifying, FBI Director Kash Patel testifying on Capitol Hill yesterday, and Democrat Senator Mazie Hirono, not the brightest knife in the constellation. She is not a sharp one, that's for sure. Mazie Hirono, very upset, and now they're talking about all kinds of things, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But Mazie Hirono decided this would be a good opportunity to say the FBI should recruit physically weak people who are fat and lazy and couldn't hop over a row of match packs laid on the floor, and that they shouldn't have to, and Marco was talking about also competing when he was in the Army, and you could walk fast and get an A based on the women requirements in the Army. And now here's Mazie Hirono pushing for the FBI to bring in weak, unathletic women to be FBI agents.
You are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups. Which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents are being appropriately assessed. So are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups? We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason I ask is that there are concerns about whether or not being able to do these kinds of harsh pull-ups is really required of FBI agents.
Doing one pull-up is not harsh, and there are always medical exemptions to that.
Doing one pull-up. This is the requirement for women entering the FBI to be rough-and-tumble federal law enforcement officers carrying guns, wearing body armor, and taking down some of the world's worst criminals from apartments in Pakistan to Los Angeles, California, and New York. And Mazie Hirono, did you notice that she kind of gave away the store on this whole transgender thing? That women they don't have the physiological ability to do that. But I promise you, I guarantee you, she advocates men competing in women's sports.
You are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences.
Physiological differences, but aren't you an advocate for women competing against men in all sports and men beating the hell out of women? Democrats like beating the hell. That's like their friend Kilmore Abrego Garcia, chronic wife beater, girlfriend, baby mama beater. And the Democrats, we need more of him. Let's get him loose on the streets again. Isn't that amazing? And it's news. This Mazie Hirono thing made news all over the world. Oh, no, an FBI agent is a woman, might have to do one pull-up to make it into the FBI Academy, where she'll be trained to be a global crime fighter for the vaunted FBI. Kash Patel defends FBI pull-up test after Senator Mazie Hirono, Democrat, decries it as a gender bias in Senate showdown. Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono questioned the pull-up singular standards for women applicants to the FBI during Senate hearing. These people are a disgrace to people with brains. Any brains, not even good brains, just any kind of brain at all. Squirrel brains. Democrat Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii clashed with FBI Director Kash Patel during a heated Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on Tuesday, questioning agency firing and counterterrorism priorities and even calling the Bureau's physical fitness requirements harsh for applicants. Now, again, she talked about the physiological differences that might not allow any woman to do one pull-up, but they should still be rough and tumble federal law enforcement agents. And she advocates for men to compete against women in sports and for boys to compete against girls in sports. But she just blew her cover here, so to speak, because, and it's like I heard somebody talking about this. You can't have it both ways. And that's one of the phrases that I'd like to ban in Washington, because everybody has it both ways in Washington. Every Democrat has it both ways in Washington. Isn't that amazing? So she says there are physiological differences. Isn't that amazing? Because of physiological differences, she says, a lot of women cannot do one pull-up because of physiological. Okay, that's fine. But that means that you should probably find another line of work. You don't want a job as the pull-up coach. You don't want a job as an airborne ranger if you can't do one pull-up. And you don't want a job as an FBI agent if you can't do one pull-up. And according to what Kash Patel said, it is one pull-up that is required. We're requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy, and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up. There are concerns about whether or not able to find these harsh pull-ups really required by FBI agents. No. It's a world of make-believe. It's a world of pretend. Aren't they amazing? And Senator Katie Britt, who is not a dim-witted person, but a Republican U.S. senator, and stated something. She's like, oh, really? So now you think there are differences between men and women?
Well, before I begin, I want to thank Senator Hirono for what she said, acknowledging that there are physical differences between men and women, talking about that women wouldn't be able to do as many pull-ups, and I think that she was making a case here that there should be different standards. There's a thing called Title IX, and this is why we continue to say we should have biological men and men's sports and biological women and women's sports. And so I look forward to utilizing that to talk to all of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. Maybe they will stand with us in helping us protect women's sports. I think she made a great argument there for it. Moving on.
Good for Katie Britt. That was a wonderful moment. That was great. And it has been explained for female candidates, the FBI, one pull-up is the required minimum. One pull-up. And the Democrats just want to lower standards in the FBI, make them more likely to be killed because, well, my backup was Mazie Hirono over here, and she can barely lift a foot-long Subway sandwich and throw it at a federal officer. Isn't that amazing?
Doing one pull-up is not harsh.
Doing one pull-up is not harsh. Man, oh, Manischewitz. President Trump in Great Britain is being treated like, it's an amazing honor. They got a major flyover going on. The British call it a flyby, fly by night. We call it a flyover because we like our planes to fly over the top. They should be in the air. And the president being, again, the only world leader ever to be invited twice by the British royal family as a head of state to be honored. Never before in the history of Great Britain, which has been around for some time now, have they twice invited the same world leader back for honors, the honors that President Trump is getting today. Meeting with King Charles, who yesterday President Trump accidentally called Prince Charles because everybody's called him Prince Charles for 70 years or something. I've told you the story here before about my meeting with then Prince Charles in Washington, D.C. at the National Cathedral at the funeral of President Reagan, and I went over and talked to Prince Chuck, filled him in on a few of the things going on around at the cathedral around him. But let's get back to yesterday's hearing. Enough about me. Let's go to Kash Patel. Adam the Inchworm. They call him the Inchworm. His wife calls him the Inchworm. Adam Schiff, the biggest liar in Washington. Former House member, got a promotion to the United States Senate. And Adam Schiff and Kash Patel, Adam Schiff didn't want, and the media loves it. They applaud and they applaud and they applaud because they're just filthy, rotten, corrupt, bloodthirsty Democrats. They're just Democrats. Adam Schiff and Kash Patel.
I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates.
Not in the weeds.
What I am doing is protecting this country.
You're not in the weeds.
And combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
Now, that went on and got louder and stupider because Schiff is a filthy criminal and he lies more than anybody in Washington, which is like being the tallest guy in the NBA. And there's big news since he's talking about, we don't, Schiffless, what a weasel. But Senator Chuck Grassley released documents yesterday that are very, very important about the FBI being abused under the filthy criminal Democrats like Barack Obama, who was out there trolling yesterday. And Chuck Grassley put out documents exposing the FBI being abused by the Democrats. A project they had called, an operation they had called Arctic Frost, which targeted 92 Republican groups nationwide, including Turning Point USA. Senator Grassley.
At your nomination hearing, I made public records that whistleblowers provided me about Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost was the FBI case opened and approved by antitrust Trump FBI agent Thibault. Arctic Frost then became Jack Smith's elector case against then Citizen Trump and now President Trump. These new records show that Arctic Frost was much broader than just an electoral matter.
New documents. Grassley told the committee and everybody there in public in front of God and everyone, or a dog and everyone for Democrats, a total of 92 Republican targets were placed under the investigation, the scope of Arctic Frost, and it's political assassination. It's a political hit job. And on that political list was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, his group, Turning Point USA. And the Democrats have been abusing the FBI and the Justice Department and the intelligence community like communists abuse government in the Soviet Union and in North Korea and in communist China. And they shoot and kill their political enemies now, too.
On that political list was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and Department of Justice prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus.
And targeting and trying to jail their political enemies, and everybody is their political enemy. Peter Navarro and Charlie Kirk and the Democrat Party is the real danger to the United States of America. The Democratic Party is the real danger to our democracy. The real danger to the Constitution, the real danger to our republic is the left. And the left has taken over the Democratic Party. I'm going to have to apologize again for not getting to the mailbag because we were swept away by events. But speaking of swept away by events, the Democrat mayor of Chicago, Illinois, where I guess they're going to have 600 people murdered this year. Brandon Johnson, not an intelligent man, a former educator, raising illiterate, math illiterate, language illiterate Democrats who will vote for Democrats all their lives. Listen to this idiocy. First of all, he can't send in federal troops. Secondly, he says that jails and incarceration and law enforcement are a sickness. Law enforcement is a sickness.
The fact of the matter is, no one has asked me to send federal troops into this city to make it safe. It has never come up. It never came up during the campaign. It's never come up in the first 2 years. The fact of the matter is, we are driving violence down on this city, and we're using every single resource that's available to us. Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
It's law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities. Jails, incarceration, law enforcement. I don't think he knows the difference. Just amazing stuff. Boy, oh boy. So we will we'll get, I got to say, Scout's honor again, get to the mailbag questions tomorrow. I'm sorry, a little less organized than usual with jury duty yesterday and all that. I was rejected. No jury duty for me. You know, they want to have criminals and pro-crime people on the. It's kind of a funny thing. Normally, when I go into jury duty, they ask me, and they always ask in Washington, "What do you do for a living? You know, are you in politics? Are you in law enforcement? Anything?" And I say, "Well, I'm the host of a radio show, and I'm the host of a television show." And they say, "Oh," and then the defense attorneys lean forward and they say, "Radio show?" And I say, well, yes, it's conservative political talk radio. And before I finish that sentence, the door is swinging open and they're telling me to get out or go sit over there until the end of the day. Isn't it amazing? Now, the Democrats, I didn't even get to the district attorney in Utah, and I'm sorry about that because he's wonderful. Jeff Gray reading aloud from the text messages that had Jimmy Kimmel all confused.
Robinson. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA.
Yeah, and then the news media, they say, and Jimmy Kimmel, oh, his dad is MAGA. His father voted for Trump. Therefore, the Republicans killed Charlie Kirk. And that's what Jimmy Kimmel was saying last night, because it's all a mental illness.
Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
So I had to kill him. Say, the other guy's full of hate, so I killed him. That's the Democrats.